This will be our main task for tonight. We'll do 6. Before we go forward, we have a recap of what we did yesterday on the use of cell referencing, the application of cell referencing in building up rates. So I have an example here, an hypothetical example, which you can see displayed on the screen. So I've made some as like rate for a laborer per day. These are the rates and the allowances. These are just the assumptions for this rate build up. So we want to build up rate for excavation to remove topsoil. So this is where the use of referencing comes into play, absolute referencing. So this labor rate for excavating amount. So just use equal to tab and then come to this rate per day and then fix the dollar sign. We want to fix the dollar sign to it. So we have this amount. This automatically calculates as we have a subtotal here, which is 2 times 1.5. Here also, decide to reference. We can decide to reference the first laborer, the rate of the first laborer excavated. Since it's the same, so we reference it. We can decide to still go back and make an absolute referencing on the first rate at the top here, but I think it's quite easy for us to make the reference just to keep referencing. So if perhaps there's a change in rate of labor from 1.5 to say 4,000, so it's easy. Once we change the rate, it automatically changes it here. It automatically changes it here. So we have our allowance for 2. Allow use equal to sign and reference this percentage here, which is an assumption. So at the end of the day, we have this as our cost per square meter using the referencing. Next, still on this labor rate for excavating and disposing, we can choose to reference the first laborer per day rate. We'll come here, we click enter. Allowance for 2. Allowance for 2, we go and reference our allowance for 2. Allowance for supervision is at 25%. So at the end, we have this as cost of a gang and output of one gang in excavation of trench or pit is assumed to be 2 cubic meter per day. So at the end, cost per cubic meter, we have this cost per the output per day. And now finally, we need to add our gross, our general overhead and profit. Our general overhead, we also make a reference to, yes, there's an overhead here, so we reference it. Anytime we make a change to this overhead here, if we change this to 40, this also automatically changes to 40. But this automatically changes to 40. So we have our cost of excavating, our rate for excavating a trench or a pit per day. These are just hypothetical assumptions. Lastly, we have this also. We want to make reference to our labor per day here. Allowance for 2. We can decide to reference this allowance above here. This is automatically making reference to the first, to our general assumption that we have up here, which is this allow for 2 here. So When we click enter, we have this uh, allow for supervision. Allow for supervision will make reference to the former percentage above, and then our general overhead and profit we reference this also. So at the end of the day, we have uh, a cost of excavating 1.5 meter but not exceeding 3 meter deep trench or pit at 1,814 naira per cubic meter. So this is just a recap on the use of or the application of cell referencing in Excel for quantity surveyors. So our next module is building up a pivot chart. So we are going to build a pivot chart from this set of data we have here. So to build up a pivot chart, all we need to do is just highlight the cell where we want to encapsulate our pivot chart, or the most critical cell that we want to represent in our pivot chart. So as for this exercise, we'll be making reference to only these three cells here. That's this department, deployment, and salary. So we come to the insert tab here, and we can change this into a table. If we make this a table, it will enable us use the slicer ribbon. But we just want to change this to a pivot chart. So we want to make it on a new worksheet. So our deployment and our salary. Our deployment, our department, and our salary is on this pivot chart. On our column, we want this to come on our column. We want this salary to also show on our column. So this is just basically a pivot chart. By clicking on this drop down here, we can make adjustments by selecting whether we want to only see the amount for legal department, or see the amount for procurement department, or the amount for works and procurement, and so on. We can also decide to interchange this department and deployment by bringing this department here and bringing this deployment here. So in doing that, we can choose between Abuja. We want to see the total amount in Abuja. For in Abuja, there's no works department, so we are not seeing anything. But there's a fiscal planning department, yes. So we can see the total expense for the fiscal planning department in Abuja. So basically, this is just the application of a pivot chart um, in data management in Excel. So we continue with scenario manager. How do we use scenario manager in Excel? So scenario manager is just yes. So scenario manager is, as the name implies, it is used to depict different scenarios for an event. So yeah, I have made an hypothetical analogy here on concrete. So the quantity here is 40 at a price of 52,000 at a rate of 40,000. So this is just like we are trying to know the profits that we will make if we price concrete at this, knowing cost the cost of concrete at 40,000, and then we will price concrete at 52,000. So there's also a general expense which is like a fixed cost at just 60,000. So building a scenario for this, let's say we want to know what happens if probably this price here, this is the price we have on our bill, 52,000 for 1 cubic meter of concrete. And then in order to achieve 1 cubic meter, we actually spend 40,000. So our profit margin on 1 cubic meter, on 40 cubic meter of concrete, will be 420,000. So now we would like to know what will be, we like to make a forecast of different scenarios, or what happens if this price is lowered and probably this rate is increased. So with the scenario manager, we can actually achieve that in Excel. So in order to do that, we go to our data and we click on what if analysis, the drop down on what if analysis, and then we come to scenario manager, and then it comes up with this box here. So we have this box here showing our scenarios. So this is where we actually build up our scenarios. So our first scenario, we say we add, let's add what so we name this scenario a scenario of uh, increase in price and a decrease in rate, decrease in rate. So next here is our changing cell. That's the cell that will create this scenario. In this example, these are the three cells that are needed for this scenario. So we click on OK. So now this first scenario, we say increase in price and increase in rate. Let's assume our quantity is fixed. Our price here, we want to change it to, let's say, 55,000, and our rates, our cost of achieving 1 cubic meter of concrete, let's say it drops to 38,000. So now we want to see our profit margin on this. So this is our first scenario. Our second scenario should be, let's say there's increase in price and then decrease in price and increase in rates. So we add up the scenario, decrease in price and increase in rates. Still we maintain our changing cell to be this. So increase in price, a decrease in price. Let's say the price for concrete dips to 45,000, 48,000, and our cost of producing one concrete goes up to 46,000, 45,000. So these are our two scenarios. So by clicking on this show here, by clicking on this show here, it shows us what happens to our profit margin here. So when I click on show, when we increase price and decrease rates, our profit margin stands at 620,000. By clicking on this, when we decrease price and increase rates, when the price is at 48,000 and our rate is at 45,000, this is our profit margin. At the end of the day, we can decide to have a summary of our scenario. Sometimes we can build up multiple scenarios. I want to see a summary of that scenario. So by clicking on this summary, and then our result cell, that's what are we relating this scenario to, which is our profit here. We change and then we click on OK. So this is just an example of a scenario manager. At this our profit margin, our profit margin, and our profit margin. So this is all on scenario manager. So uh, next we have data tables. We have our data table here. So for data table, uh, we have an assumption of paint. we want to know what happens. With data table, you can forecast, big forecast of costs, costs. So we want to know what happens if the rate of paint goes up and so on, and what happens. Maybe we have a budget and we are trying to know how many paint we can buy if price changes to this, or if price comes down to this, and so on and so forth. So with our data table we can achieve that. In order to construct a data table, first we we reference the total cost, which is this. So by referencing this total cost, now the quantity here, we want to know, okay, uh, let's say 450 drums of paint, 500 drums of paint, 550 drums of paint, 600 drums of paint, 650 drums of paint, 700 drums of paint. So we want to know what happens in by using the data table. By using the data table, we will know what will happen for each of the uh, for each of these quantities here. So we also want to state the rates on our row here. We also want to state the rows on our row here. So on our row here, we want to know probably at a rate of 8,900, at a rate of 9,600, at a rate of 10,000, at a rate of 10,850, at a rate of 11,200. So we want to know what happens, what the total cost will be. So by using the data table, we can achieve that. So by building this, I will just highlight the cell, the column, and the row, and then I'll come to what if analysis, and then click on data table. So it's the first argument it comes up with is our row input cell. Our row input cell is the rate here. The rates here are our row input cell. Our column input cell. Our column input cell is this. So when we click OK, we have this here. By clicking OK, we have this, and we can format our cell to just include currency sign symbol. So probably we have a budget of 6 million, and the price of paint just went up by 850 naira. So by using this data table shows us, okay, oh, at 6 million you can buy 550 buckets of paints, and probably maybe a budget of 6 million, if the price of paint comes down to 8,900, can get us more than 650 drums of paint. Well, so that is just the major application of data tables for quantity surveyors in Excel. Our last activity will be module 6, which is goal seek. We'll learn how goal seek works with bill of quantity. So this is our task for module 6. We have a file named tender lot 1, which is the electronic bill of quantities for substructure work package for a proposed library at the international airport. You are approached by Messrs. Jami and Partners, a contractor bidding for the work package, and requested to undertake the following task. We are to assume the Petroleum Equalization Fund as the client. So our first task is to insert a suitable header, footer, and page number and improve the quality of formatting of the bill. This bill, this is the bill. So we have to improve the quality of the formatting of the bill. Our next task is to create a suitable cover page, a general summary sheet for the bill, and save. The summary sheet should include prelims, contingency provision, and we have to consider 3 and 5% for those for assumptions respectively. Our third task is to link similar rates, collection summaries, so that changes are updated automatically. And our fourth task, which is use of this goal seek, is to assume that the contractor has a target price, a target figure of 11.5 million naira target for value. So we have to use goal seek to adjust the estimate to the target figure, and the tender should be named and saved in a different worksheet. Our penultimate task will be to use any suitable graph to represent cost centers in the general summary page which we create. And finally, we are to use bar charts pictorially to pictorially represent the differences between the original and adjusted unit rates. So we are to target this as our new contract figure, 11.56 million. Well, the contractor gave us a work package which is at 14.2 million, but we are to make it 11.5 million. So with goal seek, you can achieve that in Excel. It automatically makes adjustment for you. It automatically adjusts figures for you in order to achieve your specific target. So our first task is just to improve the quality of the bill. We are just to improve the quality of this bill. Let's say we want to bolden this header here. Let's say we want to bolden this, and let's say we want to change the alignment of the imputed figures here. Let's only change this, and also want to realign this here. So I think this bill is has been formatted well enough. Uh, we've made modifications to the bill, and now we are to insert header, footers, and page number. So this is our bill. So to do that, we come to our view tab and click on page break. First, we page break. Now this page break here is showing us these broken lines. These broken lines, meaning any word or any input that comes after this broken line when printing becomes another page. So we want to realign this last column here to come into this, to come before this broken line here. First, maybe we should, yes, make this here. So the easiest thing to do to achieve this is just shift this broken line, shift. When you shift it, we've achieved our first objective. Now by doing that, we have um, we have some characters that have moved above the line. So we can insert. By inserting, we are pushing those characters below the line. We can insert by pushing these characters below the line. So here we have it. On our page break format, this is how a sheet will look like. This is how a sheet will look like. And on that sheet, you can insert, you can go to view and change it to page layout. When you use page layout, you can automatically insert header and footer. So let's say we want to insert a header and say proposed library. We want to format the font, want to make it small as possible. uh, Proposed library. So we have a header, and now we want to include a footer. In order to include a footer, we can use this footer format, which is just page number. It should just give us the page number. By clicking on this, automatically it gives us our page number 2, page number 3. So if we are to print this bill, it means our workbook view has to be on page layout in order for this header and footer to show on our paper, because when we take it back to the page break view, the header and footer, both of them are gone. So if we want to print, it has to be on the page layout which has the header and the footer. So I think we are done with our first objective. So our second objective is to create a suitable cover page and general summary sheet for the bill. So we want to create a suitable cover page for the bill. So we go back to our bill, we add a new worksheet and just say first we merge and center. Or before merging and center, let's type and see bill of. So I think can increase the size of, change the font Times New Roman and bolding it. So we have bill of quantity. We can come down a little and say bill of quantity 4. We can still come down a little and still write the proposed. We come down a little again and say uh, for proposed uh, standard library, international international airport of Nigeria. So our client is assumed to be Petroleum Equalization Fund. Contractor who is Jamio, and a contractor which is Jamio and Partners. So we can just automatically format for all this by clicking on this format painter. It applies all our properties that we selected for the font. It automatically applies it to the new text. So we can just go and click on the format painter. Just click on the format painter, format painter. On the format painter, and then make our adjustment. Merge and center. I want to shift this here. Merge and center. Want to merge and center here also. Our client We want to centralize it. Here we want to then center, merge and center, and finally here we merge and center. So this is our cover page. We also page break our cover page. So this is what comes out whenever we want to print our cover page. Whenever we want to print our cover page, this is what we have as the cover page. So we have as the cover page. We can increase the spacing to make it more centralized by inserting rows, make it more centralized. So whenever we want to print, clicking on this and printing, this is how it comes out. This is what we have. We can also make, if the format, we are not satisfied with the format, we can always make adjustments and reformat the page. So we rename this sheet. We rename this sheet as our cover page. Your cover page. You can also decide to add colors to our cover page. So this is our cover page. So our next task, okay, we have to create a general summary sheet apart from the cover page. So we have to create a general summary sheet for this task. A general summary sheet. So in our general summary, we can just start by general summary. So here we have our serial number, our item, work, our amount. Merge and center, and make this bolder. You can decide to also make this bolder. So we have serial number 1, item, we want to make it bigger. So preliminaries, preliminary, then our item of work, our work package, which is the substructure. We have to consider 3% for preliminary and 5% for contingency. So after getting our substructure, we go back to our bill. For our substructure, we have this amount. We enter. Our preliminary is 3%, so we use our equal to sign. This amount times 0.03. So we have this. So let's sum them by auto summing. Here we have our subtotal. So what comes next? Contingency. Our third item. Our contingency is at 5%. So we have our subtotal times 5%. We can copy this and then just paste. Automatically adds our former subtotal to our new subtotal. So let's say we have VAT. At 7.5%. We take our former subtotal by 0.075. So this is our VAT. We copy and we paste, showing us that we've taken our subtotal plus our VAT. So this is our final total figure. Our total figure. We can highlight this and realign them. Uh, this also, and this we can bold in. Here we can use our table and border to just separate. If we don't like any of this outline border, we can come and click on more borders. By clicking on more borders, then we choose our style. Choosing our style, we want to enclose the top and the bottom. So by doing that, we have this. This also, we can come back here, choose our style. We want to enclose top and bottom. Through. Finally, these are total sum. By clicking on these small borders, you can decide to change the style. Our total figure. So we are through with our second task. And in that process, I think we linked our collection and summary. So finally, we are going to our goal seek. Our goal seek, assuming the contractor has a target price in mind of 11.5 million, and they want us to make a goal seek on this amount from this 14 million. In order to get our goal seek, we have to change our workbook view to normal. We need to change our workbook view to normal, and then our first step will be to insert another column. We insert another column. We insert another column here by clicking insert. We have, let's name this new rates. New rates. So this will be our new rates using goal seek. So goal seek has argument that we need to fulfill. Goal seek has argument. For goal seek, we need a set cell, and then this second argument to value is the value that we want to achieve, and then final argument is by changing cell, which is the cell that we want to change. Which is the cell we want to change. So first thing we do is to write our change cell. Change cell. Just write the change cell. Just close by anywhere we want to have our change cell. This is the cell we will be referring to. We're making absolute reference to. This is the cell we're making absolute reference to. So first, our new rate, will be this our old rate by our change cell, which is this. And this change cell we have to make absolute reference because we want to reference all our rates to this factor, this change cell factor. So our new rate will be this times our change cell. We have to incorporate it into all of the bill item. We need to incorporate them into all of the bill item. So we also want to make sure that we've added all collection to collection with this our new rate. Added to collection, our next collection. our total collection. So we have this. So next we have our new amount. Next we have our new amount. We have our new amount. Our new amount will be this our rate multiply by quantity. Our rate multiply by quantity. We do the same thing. We realign. We make sure that we have all this times quantity. Also, and just and then we clear this. Similarly, we can copy paste and then we clear. Copy paste, we clear, and then finally our total summary, which will be this. So our goal is to change is to get this figure 11.567890. So we go to our data, what if analysis, goal seek, our set cell. This will be our changing cell. Our set cell, will be this summary here. And then to value is the value we want 11.567890. We'll click on OK. We've achieved our goal seek by coming to 11.5 million naira from 14.7 million naira. So Excel has automatically made adjustment to our rates in order to achieve that figure. So from here it will be easier to maybe change this from 406 to maybe 410 naira for people that use uh, absolute value for rates. So you can just make adjustments from here from 406 to 410. That's by creating another worksheet, and then you just make adjustments to your rates from having this 487, 486. Then you make your final adjustments. But with Excel, you've achieved your target figure, which is 11.5 million naira. So our penultimate task is to use any suitable graph to represent the cost centers in our general summary page. Our general summary page, we should use a graph to represent this amount here. So we just highlight our input data and go to insert. Let's use a pie chart for this. We use a pie chart. We can change the color and then we select our data. We want to remove this empty spacing, here. want to remove these empty spaces. We don't want our subtotal to show subtotal. Okay, so we have this as our graph. Can click on this. This is showing us the percentages. This is showing us the percentage by right clicking. You can format data labels to show values best fit. We want to remove the percentage and see the values. This is our cost center. This is our cost center. So I think we are through with our penultimate task. And finally, our last task is to use a bar chart to represent the differences between the original and adjusted unit rates. Uh, so in order to do that, we need to create another sheet. Copy our previous item, paste. We want to paste only the figure. Uh, so here, make adjustments. So here we can say this is original. This is our adjusted. We link this to our substructure here, which is this. And we can just transfer this here. Oh, this is my formula. Okay, we can take 3%. We have our subtotal. Contingency, we can take 5%. We auto sum for our subtotal. Our VAT is at 7%, 7.5% by adding this up by our subtotal. So now we have to create a bar chart to represent this here. So it's just easy. All we need to do is take this here and insert a bar chart. Insert a bar chart. As easy as it will come. So we want to select our data also for the bar chart. We really want to have our preliminary substructure, contingency, and VAT showing on our bar chart. I want to rename this as the original, and this as the adjusted. So this is what we have at the end of the day. This is our final task, and we've achieved. Been able to cover the major application of Excel for quantity surveyor through this remaining modules for module 4, 5, and 6. We've been able to learn how we can use sensitivity analysis, our scenario manager, and uh, our data table. And this brings me to the end of this session. Thank you very much for listening and attendance.
Yeah, thank you, QS Jamil. Thank you so much for the
Yes,
time
sir.
spent so much. And I really appreciate you for going this far
Yes, sir.
in this your training. But please permit me, please. I would like you
Yes,
not to
sir.
be. Don't stop sharing. Just leave your screen open.
Okay.
Yes, leave it open. So I think it's time for us now to for questions. I'm sure some people were saying in the chat box that he's too fast. So if there are any areas that you want him to recap, anything that you want him to repeat, any questions that you have, please post it on the chat box. QS Jamil, maybe you can visit the chat box and read out some of the questions and attend to them as they come in.
Someone is asking, can you repeat that of rates? Which of the rates, please? Which of the rates? Anonymous attendee. The anonymous attendee, you need to explicitly state which of the rates. Someone is saying, can we have a little lesson on using raindrop graph to show profit and loss? Fortunately, the bar chart is enough to show profit and loss. Someone said, I still don't understand the way you generate the chart. To generate the chart, all you need to do is just highlight. You need to highlight your. You need to highlight your input data here. So by highlighting input data, this is the chart I want to come up with on preliminary, on VAT, and on the amount. So by highlighting them here and then going to insert and clicking on any of the charts I want, it automatically brings out a table for me with those items, and then from there I can make amendments to the chart as appropriate. Well, one is saying, can you recap data table to make forecast of cost? Yes. So data table. Here is the data table. We have an hypothetical example for paint. So we say paint uh, 600 at a rate of 100 and the transport cost of 100 naira. So this gives us an amount of 6 million, which is this 6 million is gotten from 600 times 10,000. Our logistics is gotten from transport times quantity, and then our total cost is a summation of 6 million and 60,000. So now, in order to use this data table to forecast cost, you just click on your equal to, relate it to your total cost, and then on the column area you have your quantity. You might say 400, 500, 600, 670, and here you have your cost 85, 9,000. So for the data table, all you need to do is just to highlight. So you highlight from this your total cost here to wherever the table that you want to construct, to wherever you want to stop, and then you come to your data and you click on data table. So it will ask you what is your row input. Uh, my row input is my rate. My column input is this. So by clicking on OK, I've forecasted this this amount for paint. I forecasted this amount for paint. Well, someone is asking, please, what did you do before dragging that made your formula to appear only in the rows in the bill of quantity that contains value and not in all cell? I don't understand this question. Uh, what did I do that made my formula appear in the row? Please, Mr. Chidima, I don't understand this your question. Can you please restate it? Someone is saying the way you work on the rate. Yes. What happened to the rate or the rate for the goal seek? The rate for the goal seek is just by taking our old rate. So we took our old rate and multiplied by a change cell. I just isolated one cell here and made it my change cell because that's the cell we'll be working with. It's one of the arguments of goal seek. You need a change cell. So in order to have a change cell, you need to multiply your old rate by that change cell. That is the dependent variable for the goal seek. So I just took this old rate and multiplied by this empty cell. This value came up after the application of goal seek. So it changed all of this and then changed all of this. So someone is saying, can I make a recap on module 4? Yes, module 4 is scenario manager. So scenario manager is under what if analysis, scenario manager. So we want to know, want to also forecast a scenario, like what happens if probably if this price goes up and the rate comes down, or if the price comes down and the rate goes up, or if the rate goes up and the price goes up by some amount and whatsoever. We can even make a scenario forecast on what happens to the quantity so as to know our profit margin. Like now here we have at 40 cubic meter at this price 48,000 and at a cost of 45,000 to achieve 1 cubic meter, our profit is at 60,000, which means if there is probably a decrease in quantity, let's add the scenario and see what happens if there's a reduction in quantity. So our change cell still remains this 3 here. What happens if you have a reduction in quantity from 40 to 30? So reduction in quantity, we want it to show us we still have a profit margin of 45,000. We still have a profit margin of 45,000. So that is what the scenario manager is all about. Yes, QS Ali, sir. You're asking what happens to your data if your reference value is in another sheet. Well, nothing happens if it is referenced absolutely, but if it is a relative reference or just a normal Excel reference, the value actually might change or just bring out zero. That's if maybe probably you have maybe you use a formula to achieve some of the figures there. You might probably want to paste that data. For example, here, if you want to copy and paste, you might actually want to just copy and paste this as a value instead of as just this with the formula included. Okay, someone is saying I should do a recap on goal seek. A recap on goal seek. So for this goal seek, prior to this goal seek, uh, we only had this rate and this amount. In order to achieve our goal seek, we need a new rate because it is with that rate that we will achieve the targeted figure. So by doing that, we created a new column for rates. In that column, in that new column for rates, we now took this old rate and kept aside a change cell. This change cell is a dependent variable. So we are multiplying this old rate by the change cell here to give us our new rate. and then that's just what we did for each of the bill item. And then when we were through, of course, for our amount, we took the new rate and multiplied by our quantity, and also came and tabulate till the end. We auto sum, and then we got a cumulative. Um, we achieved a cumulative figure of zero. So after achieving the cumulative figure of zero zeros all through, then the goal seek came in. In that goal seek, our changing cell was this change cell that we set aside at the beginning of the exercise, and we labeled change cell. This our to value is our target value, and then our set cell is our final figure here. Our set cell was our final figure here, which was at zero prior to the effect of goal seek. Thank you. Yes, you can as well see affected our figure when we deleted one of the old rates. So yes, it will affect. Well, as for the step-by-step procedure, well, I probably you should be able to come up with a step-by-step procedure for the modules. I think that's all the questions for tonight. Or do you have any other questions? Yes, I'll be sharing the templates from yesterday and for today. I'll be sharing all the templates. Change cell. The change cell is just an empty cell. Excel will be the one to determine the figure for you. Excel will be the one to determine what the what happens to the change cell for you. So the change cell becomes a constant, which will eventually get you to your target figure. Well, using goal stick for quantities, I have never tried it before, but it should be possible. It should be probable. How to achieve the cumulative value to zero in each cell? Um, Probably let me do a recap of the goal seek altogether. Let me do a recap of the goal seek. So first we insert our new rate, our new rate, our new rate will be our old rate multiplied by this change cell that we just kept aside. But then we have to make absolute reference to that cell. So this is our new rate. We just copy down. So we have our new rate. So now we want to have our new amount. Our new amount, which will be this times this. Drag it down, drag this down, drag this down, drag this down. So now I want to have my collection. My first collection is this collection. Refers to my page. First this. So now I want to auto sum. So go to data. What if go seek? So now by changing cell, this is our change cell to value. We want to change to 11, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Our set cell. Our set cell is where we want the figure to appear, which is this. So that is basically goal seek. Any other question? Oh, while dragging down to skip empty, I highlighted the empty cell I want to skip. For example, here, for example, if I want to skip here, I want to I'll just highlight this next cell that I want to skip and then drop down. So that's how the dragging down works. No, you can't use percentage reduction with GoSeek.
Please, we are still waiting for more questions.
Yes, relative and absolute reference. Difference between relative reference and absolute reference. Uh, for example, in this example here, we have this times this. By stabilizing this here, by doing this, by just using the dollar sign. The dollar sign is just by clicking your, you see a dollar symbol on your keyboard. You see a dollar symbol on your keyboard. So this is an example of a relative reference. So for absolute reference, this is an example of absolute reference. We are not shifting from one of the variable. So absolute reference, we are staying on one of this. Relative, we are moving. This is this by this. We moved again. We moved again. So that's relative reference. Uh, so when it's okay, I think I've answered this. Okay, next question. Whatever. Yes, sir. If you yes, sir, it has an effect in GoSeek. Our set cell is this is our change cell. This is our set cell. Our set cell is this. Our total summation is our set cell. How to insert security feature? It's just by clicking on review and protecting your worksheet or your workbook. Anyone that you want to do. You can either protect your worksheet or you protect your workbook. You put your password and that's all. I think that is all the question for today.
Good evening, Kios Jamil.
Good evening, ma.
Thank you for what you have done so far. I
Yes,
don't know whether Kios CJ has any contributions on his part.
Yeah, QS Jamie, thank you so
yes,
much for what you have given us. We appreciate your efforts and the contributions you have made. In addition to all
yes,
that you have presented so far, there are some other
yes.
things too that I want to throw more lights on. You have already said it, but just to throw more lights for
Okay.
the essence of emphasis. So if you discontinue sharing, I would like to start sharing my screen now. Can anyone see my screen? If you can see my screen, just say hi.
See your screen. You can
Oh,
see your
okay.
screen.
All right. What I have here is a typical bill of quantity, the way that we have it. Now, QS Jamil have been able to show us how you can be able to format this thing as easily as possible. But there are some areas that he did not touch more, which are also very important. And one of such areas is the areas that has to do with filter. When you look up here on my screen, you discover that I have some filter arrows that you can pull down and be able to access different levels of content that I have in each column. So it is important when you open your file, you might not have filter. It will just be as blank as this sheet. And if you discover something while I'm rolling up now, it seems as if this first row is fixed continuously. And what you see is just you see the paginations or the page breaks that exist at every page. So how did I achieve this? But before I go to how I was able to do that, let me also emphasize what he has explained when he was talking about the goal seek and the scenario at the setup. When you look at here, I have my two columns. The first column, which is the rate and the amount. And I also have the next column, which is the rate also and the amount. Now, my typical work approach is that this first one will be my the actual cost of the work, whereas this one will also be the cost or the offer that I will be offering the work for. Why this is the cost of the work to me, this will be my offer. And I'm sure we remember very well that there are differences between cost and offer. The cost is the value of the work to you, who is executing it or who is the contractor. Why the offer is the value of the work to the person that you're doing the work for, the final consumer or the clients or the beneficiary. So, and we understand very well that the cost of work, there is a difference between the cost of work and the final offer. And that difference is the margin of what we call profits or add-ons. Add-ons in the sense that it's not only profit that is added on top of the cost to get the offer. So for that, I can always represent it as an item, as a single number, digit one. And then to do what he has done, I will just come down to this place and multiply whatever is my rate times that factor that I'll use to escalate to get the cost of my works, which is in this case 1. Mind you, this 1, which I have on say M1, is actually a variable. So when I say equal to, it simply means that the cost of my rate now for my offer is now multiplying the cost of my rate for my work times, and is including the add-ons which I have considered in this case. That add-on can be as much as 25%, 30%, 50%, 70%, depending on your analysis and your assumptions. So this way now, I have to reflect it for every item that I am pricing on my bill of quantity. That is the same thing that he has just explained to you in the form of scenario manager. It simply means that when this job is like 1 naira, when I have 1 naira add-on, this will be the cost. But when I have 2 naira add-on, the cost will not be 1,500, it will now be 3,124 naira. That way, I can always manipulate it. Whatever it is that I fixed here is the same thing that I will go down and fix all the cells down. Which brings me to the filter I just mentioned. Yes, there is a lengthy process if I have to go and number it now. If I go down, you discover how many thousands of rows that we have here. I have about roughly 1,400 rows. And if I have to go and start pasting each and every one of them, one after the other, that would take a long time before I would be done with this. So a more easier way of doing it is to isolate every cell that I am not interested in and show me only the cells that I am interested in. And one of such ways to do that is that since I am reflecting this on all my rates here, I'll simply use this rate now as my column that I will filter. Any column, any row that is empty will not show. Only rows that have contents are the rows that will be showing for me. To do that, make sure you're selecting the whole of the column and come down to this, your home tab. On the far right, you see your editing panel. All right. And then on the second there, you see sort and filter. Click the sort and filter. Down you have my filter. All you need is just click filter. And then the filter is now active. When you look here, you see an arrow. It is not yet on other ones. Okay. What it means is that if I click down my pull down arrow, I have access to all the cells that contain value, all of them. And when I look down, I discover there are some cells that are called blanks. Those cells that are called blanks are these ones that does not contain any value. And exactly those are the ones that I don't want to see, because I want to I have a way that I can be able to fill down all my values without touching these ones that have blanks. So I'll come here and uncheck this check here you have there. Once I uncheck it now, only these cells that have contents are the ones that will now be showing. I will now click OK. Now you see VM. It has hidden all those cells that were empty, and it's showing me only the cells that contain values. And if you look at it very well, I didn't have to go far before I come to the end of the 1,452 rows. All right. So easily now I can be able now to reflect that change which I have initiated here. But before I do that, remember, he showed us cell referencing, whereby he told us that if I am multiplying cell J1, J8 by this, and I want it to follow down here and continue to multiply row by row by row by row by row. That means I don't have to fix anything on this place so that it will flow down as I'm dragging it down. But if I am multiplying it by this one, and I don't want it to be flowing down as I'm moving, When it is moving alongside as you're moving, it is called relative reference. That means it is moving relative to where you are going. If you move one step horizontally, it will move one step horizontally. If you move one step vertically, it will move one step vertically. That is relative referencing. But in my own case now, I don't want it to be relative. I just want it to be steady. Let it be on one place. What is called absolute reference. That means it will always reference this cell and not be moving down. Even though I will be dragging it down, going down, it will not leave this place where it is. So to do that now, I come down to that field, and it is this section, which is M1, say M1, which is this M. This is the M on row 1. That is the one. I don't want it to move. Cell, this is the row 1, and this is the cell, which is what here? Say M1. I don't want it to move away from that place. So what I will do for that is that I'll come down here. Remember what I told you yesterday. If you don't want it to move from the column, put $sign in front of the column, which is M. And if you don't want it to move from the row, put $sign in front of the row. That way I have fixed my M. And I will say enter. Now, if I now start dragging down, my cursor will not move. My reference now will not move. It will always be relative to this very point. Let us see. I will drag down to this point. And when you see it now, look at it here. 2 times 571 naira is giving me 2. And 2 times 2,682 naira is giving me 5,000 something. That means it is not moving. When I double click it, you see that now it has moved relatively to this point, but it is still absolutely referencing M1. So this is what we want to achieve. All I have to do is go down and spill it down. But there are so many ways that you can make it to go down as fast as possible. And one of such ways is that when you highlight all of it, you bring your cursor to this point, to the end point, it will turn to one small cross at the edge. When you are dragging down, it will be filling down the formula down as you're going. And I've got to the end of it. And I'll release my cursor. Now, if you look very well, this is 64,000 times it by 2 will give you roughly 128,000. That shows that our reference is working very well. Okay? Now we are done with that one. As soon as we are done with it now, we can now go ahead and release the filter. When you want to release the filter, make sure you check select all. All right? And I'll say okay. Yeah, all of them are now released. Now all my factors are now, all my rates, my offer rates now are now reflecting my cost rate. So at every point in time, I can always come here and change to any amount that will be my add-on considerations. And then the cost will adjust accordingly. The same way when he was explaining scenario manager, it is also like this, a similar way that you manage scenarios by making sure that this is the adjustable variable, while every other thing remains constant. All right. Okay. Now, let me quickly also go to another sheet, another page that contains some other things that I want to show also. Please, at every point in time you have a question, please indicate and raise your hand and ask your question. That is why we're here. Now, and now look at the bill of quantity that we have. Okay, if you can see my screen now, I was talking about indenting. Now, I said one easiest way of formatting your bill of quantity is by using style, which I have here. Now, to actually show this in very well in action, I might need to shift to the other bill of quantity, which I have already displayed earlier, which was not formatted. I will come down to I will use this one now to show an example of what styles or how styles work. So I'll come down to my style. I want to create a new style. I don't want to use any of these existing styles here. So I come down to create a new style. And it opens up this new style for me. This new style is what I will call header. You can use your discretion and call it whatever it is. And the things that will be involved and under your style would include numbers, alignments, fonts, border, fill, and protections. All right, we'll go ahead to go and format it. It will now bring you into this same thing. Inside this cell, this title, this is the same window when you click this point or here to format your fonts. So to align them, under our alignment, we want it to be centralized and hanging. Then for indenting, we want to indent it only one step to the left. We'll come back to the numbers. If it is numbers we are working on, we want the numbers also to have commas to be thousands separated if they are in thousands. And if they have negative values, we want them also to show as red. We move to the next one, which is the font. I prefer to use, for the purpose of what we're doing, to use Arial Black. No need to make it there. Then leave it at 14. And then fill color. If you want to have a fill color, you can choose any fill color for the background. And if you need protection, you can go ahead and leave it with protection. But if you don't want protection, so that when you log the sheet, the cell will not be protected, you can uncheck. But I have no issues with those. And I'll click OK. As soon as I say OK, if you look at this, what we have here now, it has changed to reflect those changes that I made. All right. All I need to now do is just to say, OK. Now, as soon as you say OK, when I come to my style, I should be able to see my H style, which I've just created. OK. So I will select the first header with this one, and I'll go and paint my style over it. Automatically, it inherits that style. And I don't have to be going to, all I need to just do is select all the sides that I want to have that same style. And voila, all of them now have inherited it. You know the beautiful part? Any change I make to this style will now affect all of them wherever they are, because they are now linked to this style. Okay? They are now automatically linked to it. I don't have to bother myself about that again. So after formatting your bill of quantities and doing everything, maybe you want to change anything on it, all you need to just do is go and change one thing on the style, and everything that is connected in your bill of quantity will inherit the style. Okay? Okay, what I was trying to explain to us is this. The same way I just formatted that, now all my things are related to it. And what I do, my workflow is usually like this. Now, since I know that I will have more items that will have these small ones, more detailed items, all I need to just do is create a style for the detailed items. I'll call this one maybe D for detail. And I go ahead and format it the way I want. Maybe make it size 12, centralize it, and indent it to the left indent by 3. Okay? I'll say OK. And I'll say OK. I've created my style. Then I'll now go ahead and select the whole item that is on this. Assuming I've selected all of them to the end, I'll just go ahead and apply it to that style D. Now, if you look now, all of them have inherited that style. Okay? I'll move ahead further. Now start changing the ones that are header so that they will not be under that style, because these ones are quite few, unlike the other ones that are plenty and many. Okay? That's how I was able to adjust the whole of this bill of quantity that you have here, that I was showing you here. And it's quite uniform and it's fine. All right? Now, another unique thing that I did also on this bill of quantity was when it comes to effecting any change to it. One of such kind of change that you can have is maybe, like he said, when you are now told, reduce it by so amount, increase cost by so amount. How do you easily do that without even going back and forth, running back and forth? Like somebody told me, how do I reduce my cost by maybe 5% so that you can be able to fit into a particular expectations? All you have just been informed by QS Jamil, you just need to create a new sheet, a new column, and you can call this one now your reduction or discount. And what happens in your discount? Well, your rates is what you're going to be discounting. Come down somewhere, anywhere, and fix a clear and say maybe 5%. Enter. And then come here. What you'll be running here is your current rate times 5% discount. Like I said before, make sure you fix it. Fix the column, fix the rates. That way it will become absolute reference. All right. But a more shorter cut to do that is by clicking F4 on your keyboard. When you click F4, automatically it will fix it by force. And then you say enter. Okay. Now this is 5% of that this amount. All I need to now do is I can now go further inside it and create this equation. This minus open brackets and close brackets. What I have just done is that I have just deducted 5% from this thing. If you look at the equation, you see that this is the equation I want to remove 5% from, which is my rate. And the 5% I'm taking is 5% of this current rate. And when you go and do your filter and you drag it down, it will reflect on all of them. All right. Also, there is also something that somebody asked me today to do. And I thank QS Alex for bringing that to my attention. Somebody sent him a bill of quantity, and they had some kind of unique formatting that was almost confusing me, and he needed more clarification on how to be able to do it. Now, they have a summary page, general summary page like this, like what we have here. And that general summary page has this place is now the same way I have link. When I do control square bracket open, it will take me to the first page, which is my admin page, which is this one. And if I do my F5, it will bring me back to where I left now. Right? Now, the same way you have this link, he wants it to be in such a way that when he clicks any of this number, it will take him straight to the sheet that is connected to this place. I can do that with numbers, yes. Whatever is linked to it now, I can do that with this one. But there is another way you can stay backlink to that same place. Like when I said, when I do this, check my link, it brings me to bill of quantity 2, admin. All right? So to do that, which I'm trying to explain to us, is you need to come down to where you have, you need to come down to your insert tab. On your insert tab, go far to the right. There is a panel that is called link panel. Open the panel. The link panel always opens like this. And there are two major things that you can do from here. You can either link to a bookmark, you can either create a bookmark rather, or create a hyperlink. Now, a hyperlink is more like an external link, linking you from inside this workbook where you are to an external document outside or external destination outside. Whereas a bookmark will lead you from one page of the book or one reference in the book to another reference in the same book without leaving that environment. That is the two key differences in the two of them. All right. So to do a bookmark first, what I want to achieve here is a bookmark because I want to click here so it will lead me straight to the bill of quantity that contains that figure which I am looking at, this figure which I'm looking at here. To do that, I'll come down to here. On this place, you see bookmark. I'll click my bookmark. The moment I click bookmark, this new window will pop up. And that new window contains all the sheets that are in this workbook. I can look at all of them now. Okay. So now you see I have done my build number 2 admin. So since I want to link this one to build number 2 admin, I select build number 2 admin. And it's suggesting for me, you want to reference cell A1, which is the first cell in that place. If that is where you want to reference, good and fine, you leave it that way. But if you have in mind to reference any particular cell in that sheet, you go ahead and put the cell reference as it is expected here. And then you click OK. Once you have clicked OK, on this address bar, you should be seeing that bill number A2. It has created the same link that you will see when you click inside this place and you look on the formula bar. All right. It has created the same link for you. And all I need to just do is just say OK. And it will go ahead and convert this thing into a hyperlink. How do I know it's a hyperlink? One, it will have this underline and it will be in blue. And when you bring your cursor over it, it should be able to show you a pop-up information showing you the hyperlink and the address where it is linked to. All I need to just do is just click it, and then it brings me automatically to that place. And if I look here on my reference cell address, it is telling me that where I am at the moment is on A1. All right. This is that sheet A1. Any question? All right. While I'm waiting for that question, let us do for the other one, which is for hyperlink. Similarly, also, there may be times when you want to reference a document which is outside your worksheet. Now, those documents can be any maybe specifications that you want to leverage information on, or internal memo, or quotations, or whatever it is that was submitted to you, which you want to reference. At every point in time you have such, all you need to do is you use hyperlink to create that. Okay. So I can come down here and say, okay, my link, it will bring up that window which is open earlier. But this time around, instead of using bookmark this time around, all you need to do is just you start going through your computer to find that address that you want. Now, for me, the document I'm looking for is not an Excel file. Okay. That document is outside my Excel file. It is on my desktop. And under my desktop, I should be able to find it in this habitation project file. And that document is this form work quantities. Just saying. Now, as soon as you pick it up now, the application is suggesting a typical name to display. If I am not comfortable with this name, I can go ahead and change it. I can say it's just form work quantity. And that should be okay. And then I click OK. Now it has gone ahead to create that link for me. This is the same link. What happens when I click this link? Remember, when I click the other link, it led me to a sheet inside my workbook. But that is not exactly what happens in this one. When I click this other link now, it will lead me outside of my workbook. All right. Let's see what will happen now. I will go ahead and click it. Now it will go and open that PDF file. So it has gone ahead to open that file. Even though that file is not living inside my Excel, it's not living inside this Excel. It does not even increase the size of this Excel. But wherever this document is, so long as that file was sent alongside with it, it will be able to open it. So that way, just that simple way, I can be able at every point in time to reference these documents without losing the document. All right. Maybe somebody might want to ask, how did you get this quantity that I say form work that you have here, that you added here? Automatically, that page of the drawing or that specification or that instruction is attached alongside with that document. You can always reference it at every point in time by clicking that point. Okay. All right. Let me check if there are questions so that we can address them. And specific questions actually will give us a more better direction to flow on this conversation. Okay, some people are, I think, I'm sure everybody can see my screen because a lot of persons we are reporting that my screen. Wow. Okay, CJ, how do you ensure that hyperlinks work at the receiver's end? Your source is from your C drive, which your receiver will not have access to. Yes. When you are referencing within the same environment, by environment, I mean within the same workbook, you can be rest assured that it will always work. But when you want to reference a document outside your computer or outside your network, please, there are steps that you need to take. If maybe you want to share the same document and create a link so that when you share it to another person, the person should be able to see it. Make sure that you're going to be saving the same document. That document will be saved in the same folder as that link. When it goes outside that folder, the link will be lost and will not be active again. So QSFemi Akinta, one way that you can ensure that the hyperlink is still active at the receiver's end is by making sure that before you start creating your hyperlink, that your document and the document that you want to attach to it or link to it are all contained in one single folder. All right. Okay. There is also another aspect which I want to show us more, because one of the areas that we have difficulties with is when it comes to page layout. So many persons don't know how to, print a very good document from Excel, because they say Excel is not a word process document. But there is actually a very good work around it. Like when I do Control P on my keyboard now, you see how this bill of quantity is well formatted. It took a lot of, works to get it that way. But to be able to do that, QS Jamil has been able to give us some great pointers, which if we have listened very well, we'll know that it can actually help us to do it better. When you come down to your page layout, the things that you need to use to conclude that aspect is given here. But one important aspect is people don't always go for this. This defines a lot of things. Before you can start arranging your document for printing in Excel, make sure that you have chosen your paper size. Oftentimes, you might be trying to print a document which was formatted in A3, and you're trying to print it from your A4 printer. It will always be breaking. For example, look at this fine document that I have here that is well formatted. The moment I change the page size, paper size now to A3, look at what happens. It seems as if nothing has happened. All right. But when I do Control P, this is when you now realize that a lot has changed. And some persons, when they get to this junction, they find it difficult to be able to maneuver it. All right. Even when you're here, you can still be able to format it around. And the good part about it is that this one gives you a preview of what you're doing while you're using these other tools on this place to do their manipulation, which we are talking about. Now, the paper size that I mentioned to you now, here is the paper size, A3. You can always pull down here and select the right paper size for your document. Okay? Oftentimes also, you might need to change one or few things in your page setup. Now, this is another shortcut from this very environment to access your page setup. And by page setup, I mean where you can have access to these footers and headers that you have here, where you can have access to the level of margin that you have available. I received a job that was a very big job, I should call it, for World Bank. It's a building project in Abuja here. But the bill of quantity was a total mess. The people the quantity surveyors, they are people that we know. I'm sure a good number of us must have known about this job I'm talking about. It's a World Bank building, regional building in Abuja here. The quantity surveyors did not do anything. I'm sure the quantity surveyor who did that work, he did a very good work. but he could not format his document before publishing it. And the final version that got to our hand was a total mess. Why? Because I'm sure that quantity surveyor missed this training that we are having here today. So what could he have done better to make that work more easier? One of the things that he could have done better was to come into this page setup. When you open this page setup, you have a lot of things that are available for you. You have your page, you have your margin, you have your header, you have your footer. These are the same thing also that are available to us when you come down to this lower side of your Excel sheet. On the lower right side corner of it, you have all those views available. The first one is your page break view. The next one is your page layout, while the other one is your normal layout. When I click the normal layout, now everything will just be all white. I don't like working in this environment because it doesn't give you idea of the space of your paper. I prefer to either work in my page layout or work in my page break view. But because I have my pen fixed, let me cancel it so that I can be able to. Because I have this, my first pen here fixed, that's why I cannot be able to come to this page layout. You cannot have this one fixed where you're in page layout. It will always remove it. So let me go ahead and click it and ask it to remove it so that I can show you what I want to show you. Now it has gone ahead to unhide it. Now I can be able to see my header and footer. Now to format this, your header and footer, click inside this header. Now, if you bring your cursor at this edge, you can now be able to adjust the size. This is manual that you're now adjusting it while you're previewing it. Whereas the other one that I showed you the other place, you cannot be previewing it. You only see the result when you are finished adjusting. But here, you can adjust and preview. Peradventure, I want to increase the size of my header. All I need is just click inside my header, bring my cursor to the edge where you have your ruler. And if your ruler is not visible, come to your view. Make sure that you come to show. Make sure that this your ruler is checked. If I have my ruler unchecked, I will not see any of my ruler around here. But make sure that your ruler is always checked. If your ruler is checked, let's come down to where we were before. And I click inside. I will now be able to see this is my ruler. When you hover your mouse over there somewhere, it will give you this arrow. I cannot drag. That means I am expanding my page, my header. Okay. Now I have just expanded it. Now, if I click out, it will go out. Or a better way of doing it is there is a contextual tab that has just become active on the top. Click it, and it will show you the header that you have. All right. So I click outside. When I click outside now, I can now come and adjust. Click on inside your own document. I can now come and adjust my document. See, the same icon it has come out now. I can now come and adjust it up a bit more. So I've just created more room, more space inside this place. So if maybe you're working on your document that you don't have enough space and you don't want to be adjusting the internal space like me, I don't usually adjust these rows, my rows. My rows are usually uniform in my documents. So I can always play with my header and my footer, while my rows will always be uniform. So as soon as you have adjusted your rows, the next thing for you to do is to come down to either to this place and adjust. What I just did was to adjust my margin. That is what this dragging I just did now. It affects my margin. And of course, there are times when you want to print some documents. Those documents are not in portraits. And by portrait, I mean they are not standing up like the way this paper is standing up. If I do Control V, this paper is standing up. All right. A good number of times, some of the documents you want to print might be lying down, like the way this one is lying down now. This is what is called landscape. So depending on the layout of what you want to print, you can always choose the right layout that will cover and show everything that you want to print, instead of trying to force everything to fall into one paper dimension. So that is called orientation. How you orient your papers. Either you orient it as portrait or you orient it as landscape. And I have talked about size, paper sizes. There are different paper sizes that you have to work with. Now, inside my bill of quantities, if you look very well, I'm not repeating this code, description, unit, quantity, rate, and amount. Why? Because I must not repeat it. The application gives me something that is called print title. So that if I do Control P now, when I move to the next page, look at this type thing I'm talking about here is here. When I move to the next page, automatically it will always be there. And I move to the next page, it will always be there. It will always be there. And what is the benefit of this thing? The benefit is that unlike when you repeated it at every page, if I have to make any correction, all I need to just do is correct only one page. Maybe say call it POQ ref. That is all I need to do. Only on this one place. And then regardless of how many pages that I have, my application would have taken care of it in the rest of them. If I do Control P, now when I move further down, you now see that all of them are referencing that same POQ ref that I have. These are ways that you can always work more smarter and faster instead of doing it in a way that it becomes a bit clumsy. Because there are sometimes maybe somebody would have ended up changing some of this place here, then forget that this row is repeating somewhere else. And then you see BOQ reference, and all of a sudden you are seeing code, description, and the rest of them. So these are ways that you can always make it better. And to do this thing, which I've done here, all I need to do is come to this place, which is called, under your page layout, come to your print title. All right? Click your print title. Now, if you open print title, there are two things that you can always do there. You can fix columns so that the columns will be repeating, as well as you can fix row so that your row will be repeating in every page. All right? So what we want to do is to fix our row so that it will be repeating in every page. If normally when I don't have it, it will always be like this. I click open. It will always be like this. So come here it says rows to repeat at top. I'll come and click at this point and then select the row. I'm not selecting this one. I said select the row that you want to repeat. And for me, I always put a blank space after the row so that it will be well formatted and arranged. So I have selected one page and with a space on it, and I click OK. And I said, OK. This is all you need to do. At every point in time where you have a page break, the application will repeat this row and this blank for you. But it will not show here when you are displaying it. If you want to see it also shown, you have to come to your page break. And when I want to come to page break, it will ask me to release this view, which I have set. I will go ahead and say, OK, so it will release it. Now I have it here set. When I move to the next page, I should be able to see it also here saved. If I move to the next page, I should be able to see it also saved. This way, it is repeating the pages. It is repeating the rows for me. And it is fine and good and nice. The work is very fine. All right? So to show you how I was able to fix that page, that when I'm scrolling, it was not leaving this place. When you select this place that you want to fix, select this thing that you want to fix. Maybe I want to fix it together with this blank space coming after it. I come down to my view. Under my view, under my window pane or window ribbon, I have something that is called freeze pane. All right? There is a small arrow here. Click that small arrow. And what I want to show is that I want to freeze the pane. Oftentimes, you might want to freeze only the top row, or you might want to freeze only the first column, whichever one that you want to do. And I think you have a graphical illustration of what it is that you're doing. Fixed column will fix only this only column. Top row will fix only the top row. But for me, I usually use freeze pane. Freeze pane will fix both column and row. All right? Now, the beauty of that is this. There are times when you're working on a sheet that you need to be scrolling to the left, to the right rather, and you don't want it to leave the reference. So I can always come down here and come and click see where I'm clicking. I'm clicking inside here, and I want to freeze this point, and I want to freeze this point. I want anything that is inside this place that I've not selected to be moving. All right? All I need to do is come inside here, and then come to my freeze pane and use my freeze pane. The moment you use freeze paint, you see that it has inserted a line from here and inserted a line from here. All I need to do now is that if I'm now scrolling to my right, that 2 row which I've selected, that my column is fixed. And if I'm going down also, this top row that I've selected also is fixed. This is how you can be able to do this. So let me look at the questions and know if we have any question, because our time is fast spent. Okay, anonymous attendee, I think I just demonstrated that now. Thank you for reminding me on that. All right. Do we have any question? Anybody feels like asking any question?
I have a question. Sorry.
Okay, ma'am.
So I don't know if Chris Jamu touched on this, but it's back to the page layout that you talked about a few minutes ago. So the thing is, I understand where you say that we should check the page format, the page type first, and then adjust the margins and all that. But if you go to view, for instance, could you please go to view?
I am on view.
Yes. There's this percentage. So now what exactly this 100% that shows?
All right.
What does that control?
I get you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then is it the same as this 80%, the one on the scale? So what's the difference between that 100% in the view and then this one on the scale? What's the difference? And when do you use it? When do you apply, or when do you use that to adjust your page layout?
Thank you, madam. Okay. I skipped this part, not intentionally, oversight. Now I have this. Let me go back to this, my general summary. Okay. And I will also do another thing. Now, this is my general summary. This view that you are having here, the view scale, is different from this other scale. This is what I call print scale. This one here is your print scale. Whereas this one here is your display scale. Now, the display scale is showing you, this is the scale of what is being displayed on your monitor. That is what this one is controlling. At the moment, it is displaying at 100%. What that 100% means is that whatever thing that you're seeing here is exactly the way it will look like if the paper size is as big as what you're seeing here. Let me repeat it again. When you place your A4 paper and it covers from this very angle, this point here, to this very point here, everything that you're seeing, all the prints that you're seeing here, will be exactly as this size. That is what it means by 100%. And if you make it to be 80%, it has reduced this paper size so that everything that will be displayed on it now will be displayed at 80% of the real size when it is printed. Okay? Now, let us come down to this other one. There are times when you have some, let me see if I have any work that is not properly formatted. Okay, I'll just distort this now. Create a new sheet. Copy this. All right. Now this is the same thing that I have here, but the format did not come alongside with it. One easiest way of moving over the format is just to right-click from here at the beginning to the end, come to your home tab, use your painter or format, come down to that file, select all of them and release your painter. It has inherited that formatting from that place. As simple as that. Okay. Now, one thing that we did not do here now is we have not formatted anything in this page. When I do my control print, it is scattered. Okay. So now that is where this one comes in. This page layout comes in. At the moment, this one is 100% and this is 100%. it shows that when I am printing my paper at 100% scale, this will be the size of my paper size, which I have not defined. This dotted line that you're seeing here. This is where I said I prefer to work in this environment, so that I will be seeing the dotted line as a blue line, which is my margin. This is the margin of my paper. And that this is where the A4 of my paper size will not end. But what I now need to do is, first of all, if you're starting your bill of quantity, the first thing that you're supposed to do to avoid rearranging your works, first of all, set your paper size. At the moment, my paper size is set at letters, and I don't usually like using letters. I prefer to use A4. When I choose A4, if you are observant enough, you notice that the length of A4 is longer than the length of letters. That is why it went further down. It was somewhere around here, but now it has went further down. But still, the width is still displaying the same thing. Okay? Now, it seems as if this is not big enough, because at the moment I am looking at it, my display on my monitor is at 60%. Whereas my display on paper, when I print it, is on 100%. To actually appreciate the size, both of them need to be on the same scale so that you now see it. And putting them on the same scale means that as you're looking at it here now, you're seeing the way it's supposed to print in actual size. What I usually do here now at this point is, if I do Control P, this is 100, how it will look like when you print it 100%, which is fine. Anything above 100% is taking it to the large side, on the higher side. I prefer to maintain this place to be my 100%, and then I can play with any other thing. But if you don't know how to manipulate this scale, one easier way that you can always do is, I want the whole of this thing that I have to be on one page. All I need to do is just what? Come down to this place where it says width. Make sure that it's not on automatic. Use one page on your width. It will resize. It means that everything that is here, regardless of the width of the paper, all of them will be forced to be under one width. And when you make it under one width, it will remove the scale, because you're no more using scale this time around. It will now be, but the actual thing that you have just done is that you have reduced this scale 79. And when I look down, all of them are fitting under one paper. But look at what happens. If I do Control P, see how it has almost filled up the whole place, but it's not still as good as it would have been when I have adjusted it at 100% scale. So let us adjust it to 100% scale and see the benefits. The same way you did to print all of them in one page. You can always print both height and width to be on one page. You can always do that too. But I usually prefer to leave it on automatic and play with my scale. So I'll put my scale on 100, then automatically to break it from somewhere here. And I will now start reducing cells. Reduce this column. Reduce this column. The more you're reducing, the more this one is expanding to cover up some things. Now, I don't have anything tangible in this column, so reduce it more also. Now, look at where the longest of all my distance is somewhere here. Here. So for this one now, I can say, okay, come and wrap it. It will not be on 2 rows. I can reduce it more, further more. Now it has come down to this place. I go through again, okay, reduce this one too. All I am doing is, I want this page to be useful. That is why I'm reducing these other ones that I'm not using. So that if I reduce this one, I will go and reduce this one small now, so that the other ones will not come in. The other column that is still spilling out to another page, to page number 2 and 3 and 4, will not come in here and stay here. All right? That's what I'm trying to achieve now. So to go further now, to reduce that one, I'll come down here and push it, nudge it small a bit. I still has not moved. Nudge it a bit more. Nudge it a bit more. And now, if you think that you're reducing it too small, the next alternative that is left for you is to reduce the font size. Okay? When I reduce the font size, look at what will happen. I can reduce my font size to become 12. It seems as if nothing has happened, at least, but you have gained some space between how big it was before and what it is now. So I can still go ahead and reduce more. And as soon as it clicks up, complete, do Control P and see what I have here. It has filled up this point. And I have 2 now instead of 4 that it was formerly. All right. I will go ahead and undo what I just did and show you my masterpiece. My masterpiece is not to reduce it by here. I rather prefer reducing it from the margins. Move to this place, come to your page layout, click anywhere inside. I have access to the margins. I click the margins. Now inside the margins, what I want to do now is I bring my cursor to the upper side, not here. This is where the column, this is the column headers. Not there. Above the column headers is where you have your ruler. Now I said left margin adjustment. I will adjust my left margin outward and leave it. Now you see that all my this have moved in. Okay, I'll come down to the other side also. Bring my cursor on top of it too. I'm looking for where that margin is so that I can adjust it outward too. Sorry, this zoom, something is blocking it. I can't find that one. Okay, I may have to adjust that one from this place, margin, custom margin. The margin I'm trying to adjust now is this my right margin. So I reduce it to 145 and click OK. It seems as if nothing has happened. But look at where you know that I have achieved something. I can now go ahead and boost up my scale 120. Maybe 120 is too much. Let me now start rolling it down small. 115. 105. Now it is on 105. When I do Control Print now, you can bear with me that this is far more bigger than what it was before. Okay? It's far more bigger than what it was before because I've been able to reduce my margin and I was able to increase my print scale. Even though you are using a small font, a small size font, you might also be able to achieve the same big presentation by just increasing your scale, your print scale. Okay? This other scale here is just to enhance your visibility, how you view your view of the whole data or the whole thing work that you have on your Excel sheet. Whereas this one is your actual output print scale. All right. Okay. I'm sure we got the emails and we're able to look at all the contents of the email that was sent to us earlier today. And the footnote of that email, there was a note and information that was passed on there. Number 2, that says that there will not be training for tomorrow because our resource person was able to jam-pack us with all the things that he has in mind for us. He has given us all of them. And I believe that those things which he has given us are very important and a good foundation for the next training that we'll be having in sometime in August. So hopefully the training will not be coming up tomorrow. And we'll try to see, I will discuss with the people that have to see how we can be able to get the videos edited as fast as possible so that people can, watch it again and relearn what they have just learned so that they don't forget it. Because the next time we'll be talking about this again, we'll just briefly go through some things in Excel and move into our final destination. Because the whole essence of this training is to equip quantity surveyors with both the latest information as well as the latest technologies that are available. Presently now, a lot of people are leaving the basic Excel interface and they have migrated into something that is called SQL and the rest of them. And this is where we want to take our quantity surveyors alongside too. So many people are making inroads into mining, data mining. And the construction industry is very rich with data. We have big data, both structured and unstructured data. So we want to prepare quantity surveyors in that direction so that at every point in time, wherever you are, even if you're not employed by anybody, you can be a freelancer doing data analytics for construction companies, telling them how profitable their businesses are, telling them how they are making losses by the way they are doing things, telling them how they can improve on what they are doing using the data that are available in them. I am sure we were looking at this this foundation that was laid there by QS Jamil as not too deep enough for the skyscraper that we want to build. But let me shock you. In every institution of learning, you only get about 15% of all that you need. The rest, you have to find it for yourself. So with this, I want to encourage us to always open our minds to sourcing for information. Open our minds to searching for it wherever it is. Go to any extent to get the information and to any cost to acquire it, because certainly it will pay off sometime. And with this, I thank the people that gave me this opportunity to also share in this presentation tonight. And I hope it was as impactful as QS Jamila's own. And thank you. QS Jamila, you might take over the proceedings while I retire for the night. Thank you.
Please don't retire yet, so we'll all retire together. But wow, again, I must say this was a very, very interesting session. Who would have thought that Excel would be this? I mean, I've always thought that Excel is an interesting software to use, but the training yesterday and today has opened my mind to a whole new level. I think I should be writing to my boss to increase my money, because I'm about to make so much noise in the office with the new knowledge that I've learned. But again, thank you very much. And just to reiterate what you said, I love what you said about 15% learning from the institute, and then the rest is what we do in our own free time. These softwares or these programs that we're introducing ourselves to, they're new, and we cannot learn them overnight. So we have to just keep practicing and keep practicing. The world today has a lot of distractions, where we have Netflix, Prime Video, and all these other social media and so many other things. But we need to filter the noise and focus on what is important. So we can only determine how far we go with the knowledge that we are receiving, or the knowledge that we make available for ourselves every day. So on this note, I'd like to reiterate again that we need to practice, practice, and practice. These things are new. And if in 48 hours you do not practice what you've learned today, I promise you would have forgotten over 50% of it. So we have to just keep practicing. Thanks to the videos that we're going to be making available, we have something to fall back on. So let's keep practicing, ask questions, and reach out. If you need more clarity or more support, you can always reach out, and we'll find a way to work around it, either to connect you with resource persons if they are available, or definitely give you some pointers as to how to resolve whatever issue or challenge that you're having. Thank you very much, everyone. Ms. Bukola.
I think we have QS Ayuba. There's QS Ayuba Haruna. He has been in the panelists, and maybe he has something to say. That was why we promoted him to the panelists. QS Ayuba, yes. Before we round up, please.
Okay. Yes, please, QS Ayuba. Do you have any comments for us?
Yeah, hello. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, QS Ayuba.
Yeah, I must commend the effort of the organizers and the facilitators so far. What I wanted to ask, I think QS Chijoke has answered it already, and I want to say thank you for this opportunity to learn. Thank you.
Thank you very much, QS Ayuba. So we leave you with this goodwill message. Practice, practice, practice. Personal development is not just something that we do overnight, but it's a continuous thing that does not end. We never stop learning. Thank you very much for participating. Thank you very much once again. And from me and all the facilitators, have a good night rest to everyone. Bye.